Yeah, of course, I'll have my top 25 video this weekend. And in general, I don't pay a lot of attention to the rankings, but I do use it for some handicapping principles, some situational plays, and also for that video. But wanted to point out Purdue will not be top 13 after this weekend when the rankings come out next week because they've now lost four straight games. And I think, if they don't get this win, they're going to continue to fall a bit. But they're a dangerous team, and this does look like a good bounce back spot for Purdue. This is a team that stood 11-2 in conference play about a week and a half ago, and they've dropped four in a row, but against very good competition: Michigan, Wisconsin, Michigan State, Indiana, and UCLA. Yes, UCLA is another good team, but they've been a little up and down this season. Mick Cronin called the squad out back in early January, late December, early January. They lost 5 out of 6, including 4 straight. They started just 2-4 in conference play, and then they went on a 7-game winning streak. Alternated some wins and losses. It was a really interesting situation last Tuesday against Minnesota. As an 11-point favorite, they flew his 83-year-old father out because they expected him to get his 500th career win as an 11-point favorite. And of course, they lose that game outright. We came right back, though. We didn't use anything in that game. We came back, though, and used them as a best bet Sunday. Also gave that to everybody as a free play video here. Be sure to check the weekend content here on WagerTalk TV. And I think this is now a flat spot because of that. UCLA was in a great spot Sunday. Cronin got his 500th career win. Now they're on the road against a hungry Purdue team off of 4 losses. Looks like a good situational setup for Purdue tonight on Friday. Yeah, it's interesting. You said how Boston hasn't been as good of a spread team, but the one situation, as you know, that they've been very good has been off a loss. And it makes so much sense because they probably are the most talented team still in the NBA. They're the defending world champs. But the key to handicapping the NBA is situational. I just gave you a situational analysis on that college game, but I use a lot of statistics and matchups in college, more so than the NBA. But the situational spot for the Celtics has just been quite interesting, quite easy. When they're focused, which is usually off a loss, you can't play against them. And they are coming off a loss in this game. And it was not a good loss as a favorite at Detroit. They had won 6 in a row before that, so it's not like anything is broke. And I think this is a good bounce back spot and also extremely focused spot. They don't have revenge against Cleveland, but they did lose one of the earlier meetings. They're 2-1 against them. They've all been tight games. But we're getting the best team in the NBA still, the defending world champs, in a focused spot off a loss against a Class A opponent at home, laying just 2. I do think this is a good spot for the Celtics. I'm just not sure the Cavaliers are at that same level. It'd be very interesting to see when the postseason starts, Prez. Both Oklahoma City and Cleveland have dominated the conferences so far in the regular season, but they both don't have a lot of pedigree, postseason experience, postseason pedigree, and I think we'll find out a lot about the Cavs tonight. I like the Celtics in this one. And, of course, not much of a home game, though, because it's the LA teams. They no longer share the arena, so it is technically a home game for the Lakers. But, yeah, I think the odds makers are basically a little foreshadowing here with this point spread. As of 12 o'clock Eastern, we do not have the Lakers injury report yet. But, of course, as you mentioned, load management is expected, and that's what this point spread is telling you. They played the Timberwolves last night. Anthony Edwards was questionable going into the game, left after the third quarter. Timberwolves were like 28% from 3. They took over 43-point shots against a Lakers team that no longer has a down-low presence with Anthony Davis no longer there. Makes absolutely no sense to me. I still think this Lakers defense is much weaker after the trade, even though they've gone under 5 straight games after the All-Star break. So I do think we'll start getting some value here in the near future with some Laker game overs. Hard to touch it tonight, though, with all the uncertainty based on the lineups. It's Clippers or pass for me in this one because I do think LA will probably regress after last night's win against Minnesota on national TV. But once again, we need to see the injury report before we know for sure. But right now, Clippers 4.5-point favorite kind of tells you all you need to know.
There you go. Steve frickin' Merrill. Steve, we've got a lot of promos up for our clients right now. We've got Sport 50. You can take $50 off of any single sport 1-month package, NBA, NHL, college basketball. I've insisted 100 times for people to buy my NHL package with that Sport 50. What should they buy of yours?
Well, the rest of the college basketball season for $199 is a great starting point because it's less than $5 a day, and we are seeing college hoops really well. That gets you the tournament, the conference tournaments, NCAA, everything. But don't forget about baseball. It starts in less than a month. 1 month from yesterday, baseball starts on March 27th. I won over 100 units in baseball last year alone in MLB. We doubled our bankroll in baseball alone last year. Let that sink in. By mid-August, we'd already doubled our bankroll from all sports clients. So the SM365 promo is still available. It gets an $811 instant discount. and gets it down to $1 a play for the next 365 days of basketball, baseball, and football. Full details on my page right now, along with daily free plays and tonight's best bets. Check it out. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com, and get there quicker with shortcut WT.buzz/SM. And also, Prez, quick reminder, click subscribe, click the bell for instant alerts. I'll have some free play videos tonight for college, Saturday top 25, and also been doing some Sunday games. So click subscribe and click that bell so you don't miss the free play videos here as well on Wager Talk TV.
The Almeida fight, yeah, I mean, there's been some action on Almeida, but our sharpest wager is actually on Danny Silva. So we're looking to win on Danny Silva in that fight. That's another guy in the back who's a big UFC guy. He also is pretty high on the Danny Silva side. But, I mean, we're not stubborn enough. If there's sharp enough action on the dog, yeah, that would definitely, change our opinion a bit.
Andrew! Yeah, go on. Keep going.
You asked about the Emil fight as well. There's a lot of action on that one as well. We do have some sharp action on Emil. And the line kind of crashed on that fight as well. And now we've gotten some good buyback on Gomez.
Yeah, there's going to be some finishes on this card. So let's take two fights and parlay them together. As we just got told, this is an Apex. Smaller cage sets up well for a lot of finishes. We'll start with Austin Lane and Mario Pinto. Under 2.5 rounds. Mario Pinto is a knockout artist. He's coming off a Contender Series. He's just got deceiving power, Prez. He flatlined a guy on Contender Series with this little jab that just it comes from a weird angle. He's a great striker, and he's facing Austin Lane, who has no cardio. He's recently tried to wrestle because he's been getting knocked out in the UFC. The problem is he doesn't have very good cardio. I expect Austin Lane to try and wrestle early, and then it's just not going to happen for him. One of these guys is going to sleep. I would take the under 2.5 rounds. We talked about Mario Pinto. Maybe he's pretty juiced. He's like minus 300, but he's only minus 150 to win by KO. So that's another way you could play it. But either way, I just like this fight to go under 2.5 rounds. And then the co-main event that we just talked about, Cody Brundage and Julian Marquez under 2.5 rounds. This is a car crash. Julian Marquez has been knocked out in his last 3 fights. And Prez, I don't mean like, oh, he got punched and the ref jumped in and stopped. I mean, he got obliterated. Like his chin is destroyed at this point. And he's fighting Cody Brundage, who is going through, he shared some very intimate personal details about what's going on with his 4-year-old daughter. Cody Brundage is coming in to make a statement. Cody Brundage fights don't go very long. Julian Marquez fights definitely don't go very long. I would expect Brundage to win this by getting it on the ground in a submission, or Marquez by KO. But this chin of Marquez is absolutely gone at this point. So we'll take those 2 fights, both of them, to go under 2.5 rounds. That's your UFC violence parlay. Yeah, let's go to the NHL. This is a great plus money play on Matt Zuccarello to not have a point tonight. Prez, under a 9 out of the last 10 games and 8 straight. He's just not getting involved there. Only 2 shots on goal per game in the last 10. 5 straight road games without a point. And I don't know if you've noticed, Prez, Colorado Avalanche, they're playing much better on defense. They've only given up 1 goal total in their last 3 home games. So Avalanche seem to be kind of picking it up with the goaltending and the defense. So let's take Zuccarello under a point. And then we'll go to the NBA and do Michael Porter Jr. over 6.5 rebounds. He's gone over in 8 straight games. 14.4 rebound chances per game in those 8 games. He's crashing the boards and grabbing the ball. Pistons give up over 7.5 rebounds per game to small forwards. So look at Michael Porter Jr. to extend this streak. And on this one, Prez, if he goes over again, you're not going to get 6.5 rebounds anymore. Books are going to move this to 7.5. So probably last night, we're going to get 6.5 if he goes over. Yeah, let's go to the NHL. This is a great plus money play on Matt Zuccarello to not have a point tonight. Prez, under a 9 out of the last 10 games and 8 straight. He's just not getting involved there. Only 2 shots on goal per game in the last 10. 5 straight road games without a point. And I don't know if you've noticed, Prez, Colorado Avalanche, they're playing much better on defense. They've only given up 1 goal total in their last 3 home games. So Avalanche seem to be kind of picking it up with the goaltending and the defense. So let's take Zuccarello under a point. And then we'll go to the NBA and do Michael Porter Jr. over 6.5 rebounds. He's gone over in 8 straight games. 14.4 rebound chances per game in those 8 games. He's crashing the boards and grabbing the ball. Pistons give up over 7.5 rebounds per game to small forwards. So look at Michael Porter Jr. to extend this streak. And on this one, Prez, if he goes over again, you're not going to get 6.5 rebounds anymore. Books are going to move this to 7.5. So probably last night, we're going to get 6.5 if he goes over.
Prez, before I jump into the game itself, I want to just quickly mention about the wild card playoff race right now in the NHL. I've been talking about it a lot on Puck Time. And as of right now, based on what the odds makers are indicating, they currently believe the 2 teams, Detroit and Columbus, that are in the wild card spots are not the guys for the job. They think that Ottawa
Correct.
and this very New York Rangers team will be the 2 wild card teams. So if you want to buy in on the New York Rangers to make the postseason, which it seems like a lot of people are very high on, the number currently is plus 120. You know, you're getting a lot worse of a number on some of the other teams right now. And I think that the Rangers and the Ottawa Senators, what they have going for them comparison to the Red Wings and the Jackets would be goaltending. Now, look, this Maple Leafs team, after being down 3-0 against the Boston Bruins, they crawl back and win in overtime. Great game from Mitch Marner, 5-4 win over the Bees. 5-2 dominant win over the Blackhawks. 6-3 dominant win after the break against the Carolina Hurricanes. I just think this game means a hell of a lot more to the New York Rangers. And even more so, this Rangers team is coming off a game they will not be proud of by any means. I mean, coming off a game that they should be proud of against the New York Islanders, and they're going to get momentum from it. And when you look at that game against the New York Islanders, putting up a 5-piece is a really good thing, but not only putting up a 5-piece, only giving up 1 goal is what I see. When you think of the New York Rangers at their whole, at their true identity, you think about them as a defensive team. When they make the playoffs, they're not going to win games in the playoffs 5-4. They're going to win games 2-1, 3-2, playoff-style hockey. This Leafs team, I have said the nicest things about the Leafs that I've ever said in my life this year. I believe they will win the Atlantic Division. I just think they're 3-0 following the Four Nations break. They have that great comeback victory against the Boston Bruins. This is a better spot, I think, at home, MSG, even money for the New York Rangers. I like the Rangers to get the job done tonight. Be a good one, Prez. And, you know, the funny thing is that these are 2 teams that are going to be hungry, with the Canucks beating the Kings 3-2 in their previous game on Wednesday. And, of course, the Stars dropping a game, giving up 6 goals on Tuesday against the Columbus Blue Jackets. I'll start with this. This is the first game back at home after a 3-game road swing for the Dallas Stars. And you hear every handicapper talk about first game back at home after a road trip. You got to do the errands. You got to do this. First of all, when people say they got to do their errands, does people actually think these guys are doing their errands? That, to me, is one of the more overblown things in handicapping. Yeah, sure, first game back after a road trip is kind of a bad spot, but to me, it's mostly first game back after a successful road trip. All right, this team, you know, has been okay, but they're off a bad note after giving up 6 goals against the Jackets. The motivation level and the focus level will be there tonight for the Dallas Stars. And as far as the LA Kings go, they're a pretty damn good road team. They started the season off with an unbelievable road record. They've continued that. They've scored goals on the road. They put up a 5-piece on the Golden Knights. They put up 5 goals on Utah. They've been a team that's been good, but their consistency level defensively has been slipping a tiny bit. I like over 5.5 here, Prez. I know a lot of these games we see 5.5s. People would argue it's 5.5 for a reason, right? And I get that. You know, these 5.5 are 5.5 for a reason, because you have 2 good goalies, you have good defensive teams. But at the end of the day, some people are scratching their heads saying, why are the Dallas Stars favorited like this? LA's a good team as well. I see 2 very focused teams. And I know people could say, well, Dallas gave up 6 their last game. They're not going to give up that many this game. I don't think they will, but I think we see a 4-2, 4-3 game here. I don't want to pick the winner. I just want to watch some goals here on a Friday night. I'll take the over 5.5 here. I will not give out a minus 300. I will not take Minnesota. I'm going to go back-to-back totals here, and I'm going to take the under, Prez. You know, we hear, and I think it's kind of a little bit of a contrarian, because you hear a lot about the second half of a back-to-back, the tired legs, the fatigue, the sloppiness, the penalties. But there are a select group of teams in the NHL that when they are off losses that are embarrassing, not close losses, embarrassing losses, I look for the under in their next game. And Minnesota is one of them. Carolina is one of them. Some of these teams, it's almost like that when they get embarrassed, it's not even going to be about the offense tonight for Minnesota. It'll be just about protecting their own end much better. Better zone exits, taking care of things in their own end, less penalties. Colorado is a team, I think, that's been sharpening up their defensive play as well. Martin Necas has been a great addition. Hell, he might finish with more points than Mikko Rantanen. That whole thing is a disaster. But that's for a whole different topic. I think this game is going to see people looking at the back-to-back and how Colorado's playing and bet the over. This one's going to be a defensive testament for both teams. And here's one thing kind of interesting. Minnesota has 72 points. Colorado has 70, Prez. This is a game where these teams could get tied up. Right now, Minnesota is higher than the Colorado Avalanche are in the standings, but yet one team is like minus 300. So when you think about that, you see it in college football, college basketball, the higher ranked team is the big dog for a reason, right? But I think that Minnesota is going to do everything they can to keep it low scoring. So a little bit of a contrarian play here. Back-to-back doesn't always mean goals. I'll take the under here.
Gianni, if you're listening, I am curious about what you think of the following statement, and that is, I will not bet against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, there are many, many times where I want to bet against the Toronto Maple Leafs, where the right play is to bet against the Toronto Maple Leafs. But when I entered this industry, I said to myself, I have to have some kind of pure fandom in my life. I will bet against the Raptors. I will bet against the Blue Jays. I will bet against my children. I will bet against my parents. I will not bet against the Toronto Maple Leafs. The New York Rangers is a great bet tonight, guys. This is a horrible, horrible, horrible spot for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Firstly, they've won 3 since Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews played in that final game in the Four Nations Cup. They've won 3 in a row. The last game they won, they were down 3-0 to Boston and pulled it out of their ass. This is got blowout 5-1, 6-2. The Rangers are the play. I'm sorry to my clients. I will not release the Rangers. I will not do it. But I'm telling you all, this is a horrible, horrible spot for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Take the Rangers plus money. Dallas and the Kings. I really like the over in this game. And I've told you guys, look to take Dallas over the total moving forward. This is a team that is putting up a lot of goals. We took them a few days ago against Columbus. They won. And I like Colorado minus 1.5 against Minnesota. This game is 5-2 written all over it. I also lean slightly on the over, but I prefer Colorado minus 1.5. Guys, I have one play up tonight for my clients in NHL. I'm the number 1 NHL expert at WagerTalk. Go over there and grab that play, and thanks for listening.
Here's a couple sides for you. 895 Iowa plus the 5. 881 Arkansas State minus the 16.5. Couple totals for you. 855 over 157 Georgia State, Georgia Southern. 877 over 129 Rider Merrimack. 890 under UCLA Purdue. Not a big board tonight, but already got involved, and I believe over the next hour or two, more college basketball. Hopefully some NBA comes in as well. I'm going to look at that real quickly because I know it's a huge NBA board. Kind of surprised we haven't gotten much so far. But the one thing that does stick out is that Cavaliers-Celtics game where I just see a ton of under money coming in from the recreational bettors. And one of the guys I share info with, he sent me the over actually in that one. And I think they bet it over 232. The reason I didn't give that out as one of the plays is because I know he works with a group that does a lot of middles. Like they bet a lot of overnights, get out ahead. And then if the public's on that same side and they move it significantly, they'll come back and take the other side about 10, 15 minutes before tip-off. That's not one where that's happening, though, because, again, like I said, I'm looking in the back end. They're betting that under already, the recreational accounts. And like I said, these sharp guys are on the over. Other thing that sticks out, a big one-sided game is the T-Wolves. They like the T-Wolves as road favorites, and I don't see that line moving, showing them any kind of respect. And they're also taking the Atlanta Hawks at double digits, plus 11 on the Atlanta Hawks. So they like a dog there at home, and they like the road favorite with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Those two stick out already, but a huge college basketball board tomorrow. I think that's what most of the groups are setting up for, setting up what the lines are going to come out and what their numbers are so they could just fire, because there's just so much volume with the number of games that there are tomorrow. That's just so hard for the books to keep up. So, great opportunities for sure.